Chapter 6. Redemption. The church looked like it had been dropped from the sky and forgotten by God, which, in a way, felt accurate for most of us still above ground. It stood on the edge of town, warped beams and busted stained glass catching the sun in melancholy slivers. The sign out front read, Faith Baptist, but someone had spray-painted over it, No Hope Depot. I laughed the first time I saw it. Now it just felt honest. I wasn't there for a sermon. I was there because my latest business venture had gone sideways again. And I needed to disappear before anyone connected me to the glitter bomb that took out the mayor's chicken coop. As I stepped inside, the musty air hit me. The pews were cracked and rotting. A raccoon was sleeping on the pulpit. A half-circle of survivors huddled in the front row, whispering softly, holding hands. I recognized Marnie immediately. She'd been avoiding me ever since the fake bug-out maps scandal. She caught my eye, and I flinched, fully expecting a can of beans to the face. But instead, she nodded. Just once. Like a truce. The group was grieving. Someone named Simon had passed of natural causes, apparently, which was more rare than death by zombie. Dehydration, or Chad-related mishaps. I kept quiet. Even I have limits. As the service ended, I stepped forward and placed a can of peach slices on the altar. It was the nicest thing I had. People noticed. I think one person even clapped. It was weird. And that's when I decided to do something even weirder. Help. Hey, I said to Marnie as she wiped dust off a broken pew. This place needs a roof. Thanks for the architectural insight, Chad. I mean, I can fix it. With what, duct tape and hubcaps? Duct tape, hubcaps, and faith, I said, and pointed to the sign. We can call it Hope Depot. She rolled her eyes. Fine, you're in charge of the roof. That night, I scavenged materials from a wrecked Dollar General and a carnival float shaped like a banana. It wasn't elegant, but it was mostly waterproof. I worked by lantern light, sweating glitter and praying no one saw me being helpful. Word got around. People started showing up. Not to worship necessarily, but to help. Felix brought nails. Turtle hauled scrap wood in a wheelbarrow he stole from Nova. Rita showed up with paint and turned the inside into a mural of stars and zombies holding hands. Nova even dropped by. She handed me a sandwich. Saw you weren't monetizing this? Figured you must be sick. Don't worry, the fever should pass. In a week, the church was fixed. Well, Apocalypse fixed. We held a little dedication ceremony. I even gave a speech. Once upon a time, I would have turned this place into a glitter disco funeral home. But today it's just a church. 'Cause sometimes you don't need profit. Sometimes you just need a roof that doesn't leak radioactive rain. Silence. Then applause. Not the sarcastic kind. The real kind. I swear someone wiped a tear. Later that night, Marnie found me on the roof, looking at the stars, or what was left of them. Why'd you really do it? She asked. Guess I got tired of being the punchline in my own story. I shrugged. She smiled. Still charging admission to that story, she asked. I thought I'd feel changed. I didn't. I still wanted to profit. Still had schemes on the back burner. But for the first time, I'd built something that wasn't just for me. And that felt almost human. Maybe redemption wasn't a switch. Maybe it was a slow, reluctant shuffle toward something better, even if you were wearing glittered boots when you got there. Chapter 7. Glitter Bomb. Peace in the apocalypse is always temporary, like canned pudding or morale. A week after we finished fixing the church, the roof started leaking again. The rain wasn't even radioactive this time, just the boring, wet, morale-dampening kind. I stood inside, water dripping on my head, surrounded by a few stunned townspeople who had started to consider me God. Chad, Marnie said, looking up at the leak, you used carnival float fabric and chewing gum. Banana float fabric, I corrected, very high tensile strength. The silence in the room was louder than the rain. So I did what any respectable entrepreneur would do when faced with a minor PR disaster. I pivoted. Good news, I announced, arms wide. We're going to upgrade the roof with state-of-the-art materials. Introducing Glitter Seal 2.0, eco-friendly, fashion-forward, and zombie-resistant. Nova spat out her tea. You're going to fix the church with glitter? She asked. Technically, I said, pulling out a battered can, it's glitter-infused tar. Totally different. I mixed the concoction myself, roofing tar from a half-collapsed warehouse, shredded tinsel, and the remnants of a glitter stash I had planned to use for Apocalypse Prom. With a brush made from duct tape and despair, I climbed up and got to work. Every stroke sparkled in the sunlight, refracting rays across the rubble below. Soon curious onlookers gathered. Zombie repelling, I assured them. Reflects light, blinds the undead. Scientifically untested, but spiritually inspired. Does it work? A kid asked. Son, does hope work? The crowd murmured. I'd found my next pitch. Within 2 days, I was booked solid. People wanted glitter seal for everything. Rooftops, garden fences, personal armor, even pets. I advised against that last one. I called in Frank the Fixer, who mixed batches with an old concrete mixer and a boombox that only played 80s power ballads. Turtle managed logistics, basically wheeling around buckets of glitter goop in a baby stroller. Business was booming. My militia, Chad Force, got involved too. They guarded our mobile tarp factory, mostly to justify wearing matching aviators. Then disaster struck. On day 5 of Glitter Seal Week, I coated a community bunker's front hatch in a thick layer. Looked great. It shimmered like disco armor. Problem was, I hadn't accounted for ventilation. By morning, the bunker dwellers had passed out from fumes. Nova burst into my tent. You sealed people inside with toxic glitter glue. Technically, it was a vapor-rich environment. She grabbed me by the collar. Fix it now. So I did. I chiseled them out with a shovel and sang ABBA until they regained consciousness. Then I offered everyone a coupon for 15% off their next Glitter Seal service. That was the end of Glitter Seal. Well, not quite. I rebranded it as Ceremonial Reflective Barrier Paste and gave it away for free at the next town meeting. It was amazing what people would believe when it was repackaged as a tradition. As the sun set behind the rebuilt church, the roof sparkled like a unicorn funeral. I sat with Marnie on the steps, sipping irradiated cider. I think, she said, you're allergic to stability. I prefer creatively averse. You're an idiot. An idiot with vision, she smirked. Well, vision's leaking again. You might want to re-glitter that corner. I looked up at the drip forming above us. Then I looked at the town. People were laughing. A kid was throwing a glitter-covered frisbee. Someone had spray-painted Hope Depot on the bell tower in bold neon. Maybe the roof still leaked. Maybe I was still a con artist. But for one brief, shining moment, I was the guy who gave the apocalypse some sparkle. Chapter 8. The Consultant. It started with a bucket of water. A woman named Doris flagged me down near the old medical clinic, her arms full of mismatched jugs. Chad, she wheezed, I need help fetching water from the river. My back ain't what it used to be. I helped her, of course, then charged her $5. It's a convenience fee, I explained. Pocketing the homemade currency and scribbling a receipt on the back of an old cereal box. You're not just paying for water. You're investing in your future. She stared at me, confused but too tired to argue. And so, a new business was born. I branded myself as the consultant, because in the apocalypse, nobody wants to feel like a sucker. But everyone's fine overpaying for advice. Especially if it's laminated. I started offering basic tutorials. How to boil water without a kettle. How to build a makeshift toilet. How to trap squirrels using nothing but glitter and stubbornness. The town lapped it up. I even printed pamphlets using leftover church bulletins. Chad's end times expertise. Survival with style. Nova rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd pass out. We're selling people instructions they could Google if Google still existed? Exactly, I said. There's a void. I'm filling it. Like a consultant. Word spread fast. Soon, people were lining up outside my tent, asking for help with all manner of problems. My solar oven won't work. How do I dezombify a goat? Is it legal to marry a mannequin in this county? For the right price, I gave answers. Were they accurate? Sometimes, but always confident. Then came my biggest challenge yet. Gary was a no-nonsense prepper with a bunker full of MREs and trust issues. He called me a fraud to my face. I've been surviving without you just fine, he growled. You're making money off scared people. Gary, I said, pulling out a glitter-laminated pie chart, I'm not making money. I'm creating a service economy. You should be thanking me for stimulating post-collapse GDP. He did not, in fact, thank me. Instead, he launched a counter-consulting service. He called it Gary's Real Talk. His pitch, don't pay Chad. Google it in your brain. The town loved it. For a week, my business dried up. My hotline, a tin can on a string, stopped ringing. I even caught Turtle sneaking into one of Gary's workshops, clipboard in hand. Desperate, I turned to Marnie. You've got to help me, I begged. Gary's stealing my grifter model. She sighed. Why not just help people for free? I blinked. I don't understand the question. Still, I took her advice, sort of. I offered a free seminar called Consultant versus Survivalist. Who would win in a fistfight? It was half demonstration, half debate. I hired Frank the Fixer to act as referee. We staged a mock brawl in the church courtyard using pool noodles and sarcasm. Somehow, I won. Gary slipped on a piece of glitter and dislocated his pride. Business came back overnight. People didn't just want answers. They wanted entertainment, reassurance, and the illusion that the apocalypse came with a user manual. And if that manual happened to have my face on the cover, all the better. So yeah, I'm a consultant now. No job too small, no skill to fake, no glitter too excessive. The opportunistic entrepreneur evolves again. Chapter 9. Demolition Man. In the world before, demolition was a last resort, something you did to make way for condos or coffee shops. In the world after, it was a business opportunity with explosive potential. Literally. I first stumbled into the industry while trying to knock over a half-collapsed shop. That had been taken over by a particularly territorial family of raccoons. I wasn't looking to clear it. I just wanted the safe inside, which I believed contained gold bars. Armed with a sledgehammer and a motivational cassette tape titled Smash Your Limits, I got to work. The building gave out on my fourth swing. The safe, as it turned out, contained only expired scratchers and a copy of People magazine from 2004, but something else was unlocked that day. An idea. Destruction was in demand. Structures were unstable, unsightly, or in the way of other apocalypse ventures. And people were tired of doing the dirty work themselves. So I launched a new service. Chad's Rubble & Co. Got a haunted duplex? Zombie-infested tool shed? Shack with bad memories? I'll knock it down, clean it up, and sell the bricks back to you at half price. It started slow. People weren't sure they could trust me with a crowbar, let alone structural integrity. But after my third successful teardown, an old outhouse that had been struck by lightning twice, business picked up. I diversified. Introduced packages like the quick collapse, fast, loud, no questions asked. Emotional cleanse, perfect for bitter exes needing closure. Frank the Fixer joined the team as my demolition supervisor, despite knowing nothing about demolition. He wore a yellow hard hat and carried around a clipboard labeled Things to Break. Turtle ran logistics again. Mostly this meant pushing around a wagon filled with questionable power tools and swearing under his breath. The town caught on fast. A man named Benny hired us to tear down his ex-wife's garden shed for the emotional satisfaction. A week later, Nova came storming into my tent. Did you really put dynamite under the old water tower? It was unstable, I said. It was a landmark. Now, it's a memory. She didn't buy it. Neither did the town council, who fined me $17 and made me apologize to the water committee. I pivoted again. No more explosives, I announced. Now we use innovative passive collapse techniques. Nova asked, what does that mean? Fire, I said. She confiscated my matches. Still, the jobs kept coming. People wanted change, and sometimes the fastest way to build something new was to destroy what was old. That's when I started my real legacy project, the Chad Zone. I found a section of town that was mostly rubble already and cleared it with a few swings of my patented glitter sledgehammer. Then I laid out a grand plan. A market, a stage, a food cart zone, maybe even a theme park ride called the Doom Coaster. Turtle asked, where are you going to get the coaster? I'm going to build it, I said. Marnie laughed so hard she nearly fell off her perch on the church steps. You can't even build a non-leaky roof. Exactly, I said. How much worse could a roller coaster be? Spoiler, much worse. But the spirit was there. So was the rubble. I was reshaping the landscape one bad idea at a time. Because in the Valley of the Sun, opportunity isn't found. It's demolished. Chapter 10. Brand Building in the Post-Apocalyptic Wasteland. Survival isn't just about food, water, or dodging the occasional radioactive tumbleweed. No, it's about visibility, identity, aesthetic. That's when I realized I needed a brand. Not just for myself, but for the growing empire of side hustles, schemes, and accidental miracles I was running. It wasn't enough to tear down haunted outhouses and glitterize rooftops anymore. I had to become a name. And so, Chad, demolitionist, consultant, fashion icon, became Chad Inc. The first thing I did was design a logo, a silhouette of me holding a glitter sledgehammer, backlit by a mushroom cloud. I sketched it in the dirt and had Turtle transfer it to t-shirts made from old curtains. Next came the slogan, rebuilding the apocalypse one bad idea at a time. Catchy, honest, slightly threatening. With Frank the Fixer as unofficial CFO, we launched our branding initiative. Our first stop, the street vendors. But their carts looked like trash. Literal trash. One guy was selling out of a rusted wheelbarrow lined with possum fur. They were selling hot water, fake aspirin, and hand-it anti-zombie scarves. You've got inventory. What you don't have. Story. A brand. Listen, I told them. You've got hustle. They blinked at me like I'd grown a third eye. So I gave them a makeover. Repainted their carts with leftover demolition paint. Designed banners with slogans like Rags to Radiance and Post-Apocalypse pre-made. Gave each vendor a uniform. Repurposed bowling shirts with their names in glitter puff paint. I even composed jingles. If you're sick or need a snack, see Carla's cart and don't look back. Need help? Need hope? Need a hoodie? I got you. Someone even graffitied Brand Daddy on the town hall. And the Fallout's got you beat. Jimbo's juice can't be beat. They hated it at first, but then they started getting lines. And with lines came profits. And with profits came a cut for Chad Inc. You're a cautionary tale with a logo. Meanwhile, I took to the airwaves. To an old hand-crank radio station I commandeered from a former DJ who now ran a makeshift ferret rescue. This is Chad, broadcasting live from the Valley of the Sun, your #1 source for bad advice and branded dreams. It worked. Suddenly people were quoting me. Kids were drawing the Chad logo in chalk on the side of buildings. Nova was unimpressed. People wore their finest apocalypse chic. We served sparkling pond water in jars. I gave a keynote speech using slides printed on old ceiling tiles. You're not a brand, she said. Exactly, I said. And I'm merchandising the caution. Then came the real test. The gala. We held a gala. In what used to be a parking garage, we hosted the Chad Expo, part trade fair, part talent show, part fashion nightmare. This, I declared, pointing to a slide of a glitter-drenched squirrel trap, is innovation. Thunderous applause followed, or maybe it was the ceiling groaning. Either way, I had made my mark. The Chad Zone was now not just a location, it was a lifestyle, a brand, a statement. Sure, half my customers were confused. Some were delusional. One guy thought I was a messiah. But I was memorable. And in a world where radiation could erase you in a flash, being unforgettable was the greatest survival tool of all.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you soon.
Dummy, yeah.